My name is John Hoff, and I'm the guy who just studies all about this stuff and like lives and breathes it. But Matthew actually really lives and breathes it because he actually went to school and got uh, what is it, a degree, right? Or
Yeah, I have a degree, but that degree I don't use very much, to be
mhm.
honest.
Okay.
Because everything I learned that's relevant to low carb nutrition, you will not find anywhere
Hmm.
in nutrition curriculum. Nowhere. It doesn't exist. So
So today we're going to kind of peel back a few of the layers in our Powered by Nutrition program. And if you're not familiar with that is, we'll talk a little bit at the end. But essentially, with weight loss, there's so many things that you can do. And I know I've said that stuff before and everything. So we really, really, really want to keep things simple in the beginning for our clients because, look, a confused mind will a lot of times, Matt, they'll start getting, on again and off again, on again and off again. And
yeah, there won't be any progression, and there needs to be. I don't say you need to be studious, but if you can't half do it. You have to be, in my opinion, when you come onto low carb, you have to spend a certain amount of time to read because you're changing your entire diet, and that's a complicated subject. So spend 3 weeks, 2 weeks, however long it takes you to get into it. Spend that time learning. Don't do it, just learn about it. And then when you start week 2 or week 3, depending on how fast you can get through it, you have to do low carb meals. You have to do them enough so that by the time you hit week 4, all of your meals are low carb and you have a good base in your education. Because if you're just kind of doing it willy-nilly, it's not going to work
yeah.
because you don't understand what you're doing. You have to understand what you're doing in order for you to be successful.
Right. And that actually brings up a point I want to make. So today, I put on the topic of today is the 3 pillars of weight loss, or I'm sorry, 3 pillars of weight loss tactics that we focus on. And I say tactics because low carb is a tactic. Um, like it's like hitting in baseball, swinging a bat, right? How do you get the ball? How do you hit a home run or something, right? Well, you swing a bat, you hit the ball. That's a tactic. But the strategy involved, how do you hold the bat? How do you do it? When do you swing? And there's a strategy involved at how to hit the ball well. And so there's tactics and there's strategies, right? And so okay, so let me get into it real quick. And I see other people are here as well, Stacy and Brenda. Hi, everyone. So, okay, our 3 tactics that we use, and then we're going to dig in a little bit here, are what? It's low carb, right? Matt is number 1. And
Yep.
then on that is our nutrient dense low carb, because a lot of people are not doing the nutrient dense low carb diet. And then the third one would be some fasting, like intermittent fasting in there. And I'm going to ask Matt a little bit about these, and then you can see how maybe they might apply in your situation and everything. So Matt, with that in mind, low carb, what I'm going to ask you this because everyone has a general idea of what low carb is, right? Eat less carbohydrates. But here's a question I get asked a lot. How many carbs should I stay within?
What I would say would be your only carbs should come from colorful vegetables and berries, period.
Yeah.
Period. So that would be all of your like broccoli, cauliflower, artichoke, all of your approved vegetables. And if you go through the program here at, My Low Carb Coach, you will find that we give you a complete food list of foods that you are allowed to have and foods that you are not allowed to have. You have the full list of vegetables that we say yes to, and there's a list of vegetables that we say no to. And there's a reason behind those no vegetables, which can be confusing for someone that doesn't have any background. For example, I usually say no to zucchini,
Mhm.
Why? Because zucchini has actually a lot of carbs in it, and it actually can be very problematic for people that have autoimmune disease. So in general, we say cut out the zucchini until you've hit your goal. And then once you've hit your goal, you can introduce it back in. And then maybe you'll tolerate it. And if you don't, then you just have to keep it out. And it's the same way for some other vegetables.
Yeah.
But you have a list, you have a full list of vegetables, green vegetables or colorful vegetables, and then you're allowed to have in-season berries.
Mhm.
And that is where I get people because they're like, oh, great, I can have, an entire 1 pound bag of strawberries because Matt said I could. And, and they do that 6 months out of the year. That is not how that works.
Um, Another key thing that I like with why we, do low carb is that calorie counting sucks. And when you do low carb, you tend to be less calories, right?
Mhm.
I mean,
Automatically. Yeah. You
yeah.
don't, so hi, my name is Matthew Chris, dietitian nutritionist. I have never counted calories in my entire life. I
Love
have
it.
I have counted grams of protein, and I have calorie counted for other people because they want me to, but I have never made the choice to calorie count because I don't need to.
Hmm.
And because low carb diets are so intuitive that you don't need to calorie count. And so that's what's awesome is that we give you a food list. We give you ideas on how to fill your plate. And then you just pick and choose. And you fill your plate accordingly and you prepare your foods, how we recommend. And then you're good to go. You don't have to do any calorie counting. You don't have to do any measuring. You have to eyeball, what's going on your plate, but that's about it.
Yeah. Another last little thing on like the low carb versus something like, let's say like low fat. Low fat, a lot of times those kind of diets will focus, they'll incorporate things that are a little more maybe inflammatory in your diet. A lot of times they'll do like even like canola oil, vegetable oils and stuff like that, right? Or um, a lot of times what they'll do in like low fat is they'll say, okay, well, you need to have the cholesterol lowering fats. So you need to stick with vegetable oils, canola oil, soybean oil. And are these things good for you, Matt?
No,
They're
no,
not.
they're not. On very basic terms, what I want you to do is I want you to eat how not your grandma, but your great grandmother. I want you to eat how your great grandmother would eat. She would have no idea what canola oil is. She knows what butter is. She knows what tallow is. She knows what lard is, bacon fat. She knows what uh, olive oil would be real olive oil. It'd be pressed. It would be in a dark green bottle and it would come all the way from Italy. Uh, I don't think coconut oil would exist, sadly.
Unless they're
Um,
cooking, I suppose that's
yeah,
about it. Yeah, cooking coconut.
you would have to pay attention to what I think is the most sustainable way of eating is eating how the humans have been eating for, the entirety of our evolution. We have always been eating animal products and we've always been eating the whole animal fats that
Hmm.
come from those animal products. You have a slice of beef. That beef will have muscle meat, which will be delicious and beautiful. But then there will also be a fat cap on that meat. And what's beautiful about that fat cap is where you will find all of your fat soluble vitamins. So vitamins A, vitamins D, vitamin E, and vitamin K. That's where you'll find all of those fat-soluble vitamins. There are no vegetable oils that contain those vitamins, so that makes fulfilling those nutrient requirements, those vitamin requirements, very difficult if you're on a plant-based diet because you would have to have butter or just other animal-based fats, fish as well,
Hmm.
to get these very important vitamins.
Okay, so I wanted to ask on the intermittent fasting here. What did I put in here? So, okay, Matt, does does intermittent fasting like target belly fat, or is it more, or does it do something else in general that we're after, that why we are incorporating that into our program?
So intermittent fasting does not target belly fat. You can't target fat. That does not exist. It is not, if you see any program that says target belly fat, unless if it's liposuction, it's full of crap. It is clickbait, and it's just a service that's trying to get your money. And here we are not going to, you know, spew a bunch of hot air and then give you guys like some kind of protocol. It's not going to work. When you do a fat loss protocol, you usually are going, well, you should be losing fat all over. You would lose it in a specific order, depending on where you carry your body fat. So usually we see lost inches off of here. This is the first place that people usually will lose weight, and it'll be the first place where we notice weight loss as well. The jawline will come out, the cheeks will come in, and then the neck will be a little bit thinner. This is the area where people get their first weight loss, which is a beautiful thing because this, having this be big can be very, it's embarrassing. It's not
Self-conscious for a lot of
enjoyable.
people.
Yeah, it can be very self-conscious. And then afterwards, then you would start probably losing a little bit in the legs, and then in the hips, and then the belly. And that is all dependent on who you are, what your body is like, and how you incorporate your diet in there. So intermittent fasting, what that would do is that would cause just a big general gap where you're not having any food. And so what can happen is that the body can go into those fat cells. They can say, okay, now that I'm not busy digesting food, metabolizing whatever, I can finally get ahead on with these side projects. And those side projects are breaking down these fat cells, pulling out the toxins that are in those fat cells, using that fat for energy, and then filtering that fat out of the body. So the fat that's been stored, you have to understand that your body has to use energy. So either you're going to use energy off of your fork or off of your fanny. So you have to choose one. And that means that if you have a lot of weight to lose, maybe you want to eat, maybe you want to extend your fasting window a little bit, or maybe you want to take into consideration what you're eating at your meals. Maybe you want to have a little bit more protein. Maybe you want to have a little bit more fat. Some people find better weight loss with moderate protein and a little bit higher fat. Some people find the opposite to be more helpful, and that's all dependent on you. We give you the tools to set that up so that you can have the best success. But if you hit a plateau, usually that's when you come up to us and you say, I've hit a plateau. This is what's going on. I'm not sure where to go from here. And then we help.
Yeah.
And then that's where the program comes in.
And that's what,
yeah,
that's what a lot of people, I would say that the most people who come to us are people who they've tried this stuff. They've tried low carb. They've tried some fasting, and they're still not losing weight.
Yeah.
And that's why what you just say, there's a protocol that can be done. That's not just low carb. And we make use of these things, but in a certain strategic way. Last question on intermittent fasting. People say when they try fasting, they lose weight pretty quickly. What is that? Is that fat being lost, or is that water, or what?
Well, it would usually, if it's a first start, it would be, and if you're going from like more of a standard American diet, it would be more water weight that's lost. And that's usually the same effect that we see with someone that just starts keto. They stop bringing in carbs into the body, and so that there's less circulating insulin. Because there's less circulating insulin actually holds on to water weight in the body. So you'll have a honeymoon phase, that's what we call it, within the first 2 weeks of keto or intermittent fasting, where you lose, well, it would have to do with keto, because if you go back to eating carbs after fasting, you're not going to lose any water weight. But you would lose water weight within those first 2 weeks, and people think they're losing fat, but that's not really the case. They're just losing water weight. and
Mhm.
then they'll say, wow, I've lost, X amount of pounds. I feel great because they've detoxed and they've gotten rid of, the excess bloating and water that's going on. And you do need water, but you don't need to be a boat, you
Mhm.
know? Um, and they feel this sort of euphoria. And then afterwards they'll be like, but, Matt, I've stalled. I don't understand. I was losing weight so great. And then all of a sudden, like, um, the honeymoon phase is over and I'm not losing weight anymore. And that's where I come in and I say, you've not lost actually any fat yet. You've just lost all your water weight. And now that you've done that section, now's the time we actually put in the work and you have to lose fat. And then people are like, I wasn't losing fat. What are you talking about, Matt? What are you talking about? And then I go, I'm sorry, this is not, this isn't a fairy tale. Losing fat is not a walk in the park.
Especially if
It
you've had it all your life.
Yeah. Um, there are a few tips and tricks that you can do to make it a little bit easier, a certain kind of diet protocol to make it more sustainable and a little bit easier. But past a certain point, it gets to be kind of difficult and you have to pay attention to what you put in your mouth. And if
Yeah.
you don't do that, you're going to stall or, you're going to burn out and you're going to have a hard time. So people want this, quick ticket to Skinnyville, and you have to learn and you have to be accompanied by someone that knows what they're doing, or you have to do all the reading yourself.
Mhm.
And you cannot, I have not yet seen someone say, I've lost 50 pounds, but I have no idea how I did it. Everyone that has lost weight knows exactly what they had to do in order to lose weight. And they know
Right.
exactly what works. And they have memorized what their body does when they're faced with certain ingredients, certain kinds of meals, and they know their body. You can't close your eyes and say, yeah, I just ate whatever. I just made sure I was low carb, and then I lost 100 pounds. I mean, you can lose a little, maybe 20, 30, 40 pounds, but at a certain point there's going to be a plateau, and then there needs to be an appointment made so that you can rev that weight loss back up again.
Yeah. Yep. And that stuff can take a while to figure out. I always call it, my analogy is throwing spaghetti at the wall. You're just throwing a spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks, right? And sometimes people might get lucky. It's like, wow, I lost this weight, by doing this one thing, but
And it
that's
worked.
not, yeah, but that's not what is the reason why this person's maintaining the weight. I just wanted to mention our program, Powered by Nutrition. We are open and we don't accept everybody into our core curriculum because honestly, sometimes people they're either not ready, and we want to make sure that you are ready for something like this, or maybe there's something else going on that perhaps requires, a little more attention to before what we're particularly looking at doing. And that's why we do some conversations in the beginning. If you want to skip a bunch of months trying to figure stuff out on your own, like Matt said, we have a list of approved foods and foods that we don't want you necessarily to be consuming right now, despite being low carb. And that's because these are things that a lot of times will stall weight loss. And if you would just like to have that strategy given to you today, right now, basically, so you can start moving on it, comment the word coaching below. I'll reach out to you, or someone on our team will reach out to you, and we'll set up a time to have a discussion in Messenger. And that's that first discussion to see, first of all, are we all a good fit for each other and what's going on? And then we can kind of go from there and see if what we teach in our core curriculum will work for you. And if we need to make any tweaks or anything like that, or if there's something else going on, it doesn't cost anything to have the conversation. The only thing we ask is that you are willing and able to invest in your health, because one way or another, Matt, people will end up spending money, whether it be on a coach who guides them now or on their figuring it out kind of on their own for the next several months. My brother said something. I'm kind of coaching my brother. And we were just talking on the phone last night, and he was saying, because we're talking about the price, like how much it costs. Because a lot of people say trying to eat healthy is expensive. And that it can be, and it doesn't have to be, exactly. I mean, if you really break it down, like my brother said, he goes, since I started working with you, John, you've taught me, don't buy all these things at the grocery store. Buy these things here. He goes, you know how much crap I've eliminated? I don't buy at the grocery store anymore. You know how much money that has saved me? And he's like, I would have been spending that anyways. And then with low carb, it's the testing and the doctor's appointments and everything that perhaps if you start now, you can save yourself that 6 months worth of perhaps extra doctor visits or medications. And a lot of times people, Matt, when they lose weight and they eat healthy and they do these things in a certain way, they can start lowering medications, right? Through a doctor, but right? I mean, and medications are not always cheap. I would rather heal myself through food and nutrition rather than spending money on a bunch of medicine and not medicine, I should say pills to artificially bring things into guide. Listen, this guy knows everything. He seriously knows everything. And we've taken everything and put it into just what you need to know if you're on a weight loss journey. So you can, like I said before, if you would like to maybe come work with us and have us guide you through a weight loss strategy, I promise you we are laid back. I mean, I'm laid back to chat with and everything. Matt's going to hold you accountable, though. If you sign on with us, you're going to be held accountable. You need to do the work. And so, yes, anyways, thanks so much. You guys, if you have any questions, always you can post in the group, that kind of stuff. We're here for you. We will see you next week. Thank you so much for being here. And as always, have a beautiful day. Thank you, Matt.
My pleasure.
All right, guys. Take care.